There we go. Hello, and welcome to the other end of the stream. Crazy, isn't it? So I wanted to talk about the new Project Zomboid update. However, after wrapping up 16 hours straight of streaming, I was a little tired and didn't want to quite do the full, oh god. I just wanted to take things easy this video, so I hope you can forgive me if things are a little more low-key, especially after finding out that YouTube only saves the first 12 hours of any of my streams. Get on my level, YouTube. But I had a lot to say about this update because there are things that I like, and I feel like a lot of those have been pretty universal. The lighting is absolutely incredible, the new animals are cute as absolute hell. A little disappointing that they don't interact with zombies, but I guess, you know, zombified animals are probably gonna be like the first thing that gets modded, so I'm not really worried about that. Mod compatibility doesn't seem to be an issue. I'm seeing all the same mods that I loved in Build 41 get ported over within days. And the team at the Indie Stone has been extremely active with making sure that hot fixes are getting rolled out, things are getting fixed and patched. Even with the holidays going on, which really impressed me. But then there are some things that I didn't like, which have also been covered frequently, but have had a bit more mixed reaction. And while my original intention with this video was to kind of list off things individually, the muscle strain, the changes to the keys, it was all kind of the same issue at the end of the day. In my video on the Long Dark, I talked about the infamous ankle sprain mechanic. In my video on the Long Dark, I talked about the infamous ankle sprain mechanic and how that was intended to be realistic, but ultimately, so like, how do I sum it up? If you don't know, the Long Dark is a survival game, and if your character is overloaded while walking up a steep incline, you have a chance of just straight spraining your ankle. Seems like a simple mechanic, but the problem with it was that it led to a different mechanic workaround that completely negated any sense of realism. Because your ankles sprained with such frequency, it was easier to just leave them sprained as opposed to trying to, you know, repair them or wrap them up halfway up the hill, because odds are you would just sprain the ankle again before you got to the top of the hill. So there's just no point. So your character would just walk around with sprained ankles because it was easier and required less resources mechanically than, you know, actually trying to engage with the mechanic and heal them. You just ignore the mechanic and just let it be and make do and just kind of push past it. It's not a mechanic even at that point. It's just a nuisance that you just deal with or turn off in the options menu before you play the game. And I worry that so many of the mechanics that I wanted to list off individually, you know, keys having weight, muscle strain, so many of them fall into that exact same category of not being things that allow the player to engage with the game on a deeper level, but are instead just meant to be nuisances. Roadblocks being thrown into the player's way. Speed bumps being created by a development team. And if I'm honest here, the sense that I got from so much of Build 42 was a sense of insecurity in so many of the mechanics. An insecurity that the game wasn't hard enough or wasn't hardcore enough. And this was the same turn in updates that we saw in the Long Dark a few years ago, and when that game really started to isolate the casual audience and I think started to go downhill. Sure, that game still has an extremely avid following, don't get me wrong, I'm still among them. I mean, it took them, what, 10 years to allow you to actually, rearrange things inside of your bases, like items in the world. But they introduced vitamin C deficiency years prior to that. What are those priorities, Hinterland? And I just don't want to see the Indie Stone go down that same route. I don't want to see them doubling down on trying to make the game hardcore and in-depth when these mechanics don't make the game more in-depth. They sort of just create speed bumps that you just ignore. When my character is getting absolutely exhausted from dragging 2 bodies 5 feet each. I can't not kill a zombie if it comes and finds me at that point. So my character being absolutely exhausted wasn't something I was engaging with. I wasn't, trying to build my character in such a way as to avoid this. I wasn't engaging with the exhaustion as a mechanic. It was just a nuisance I would push past and just bash the zombie with my fire axe 18 times until it died. Almost like killing the Leviathans with knives in Subnautica. The same happened with the keys. Oh my god, who decided that keys needed to have weight? Along with all the weight being completely redistributed or changed, when my character was carrying a weapon, a sidearm, and a knife, they were just overloaded constantly. I struggle to not have my characters be overloaded. And I'll even try to bring this into D&D terms, since that was a reference that was everywhere in this update. It's like, who would you rather play a game with? The guys who just want to tell interesting stories and have fun at the table, or the guys who want to micromanage the number of kilograms of weight they're carrying and the number of calories in each morsel of food in their pockets in order to figure out if they can make it from point A to point B? Which group of D&D players do you want to play with? Because I know it's a no-brainer. I don't want to play with the numbers guys. No one wants to play with the numbers guys. No one wants to play with the pedantic number crunchers. I want to play with the guys who just want to have fun and tell a good story. Do that. Don't worry about the game being difficult. I may make a part 2 on this, talking about mechanics I actually think would be really interesting and in-depth, if there's interest, so let me know in the comment section. But like I said, this is going to be a low-key video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I really just worry for the Indie Stone. I worry that this update feels like them going down a path that's not good. And I know that everyone's going to say, oh, the muscle strain, you can just turn it off in the menu. Well, it doesn't change the fact that this is a priority project that the developers put in, and I'm choosing to not engage with it. I mean, if players are en masse deciding to just turn your mechanics off that your dev team is spending time and energy on, that's time and energy that should have gone to a mechanic that the players did want to keep in, so that's still a failure of development. Sorry. And B, the players themselves still feel alienated from the development team because they feel like they have to change things, you know? Like, they don't want to make up their own mechanics. They want a structured game. Give them a good, well-structured, fun experience. They don't have to make it up for themselves. I don't want to see the Indie Stone go down the same path that Hinterland did and end up alienating their casual fan base. Because the casual fan base is the reason we can have, like, where were you at? Like 600 mods now for Build 42 being ported over or created from scratch within like 2 weeks? It's insane. You couldn't have that kind of support without the casual audience, without people who are willing to just pick up the game even when they're bad at it. And to be clear, I know I'm no expert on this game, but having streamed it quite a bit, having streamed it so much so that YouTube has to delete a quarter of the stream because they just don't want to have to deal with recording it. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a flex or not. I don't know if it's a flex or something I should be ashamed of. Oh, no wonder I go through so much coffee. You can't have the level of community that you do now if you alienate those casual players. When I'm streaming, the most common thing that I hear is that most players still can't even last a week. Even at the tail end of Build 41, when the developers apparently were getting worried that the game was too easy, I guess, and we needed to add muscle strain and weight to keys and, decrease the number of points you get from negative traits, and it was just ridiculous. I'm still hearing from players that it's an extremely difficult game. Like, I'm an outlier for my ability to consistently last like a month, for the most part. Not always. So I feel like Hinterland is trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist and going down a route that I think could be detrimental to the game's future. I don't think we're at like peak Hinterland yet, but I don't want to see us go down that path. And like I said, if you guys want to hear some mechanics that I think would actually be cool, I might put together a real laid-back video on that at some point. So let me know down below in the comment section. Like, comment, there's probably a third one, and have a great rest of your day.